These are the Union LA Air Jordan knockoff 1 lows in the leather and canvas variants. The history of the AJKO, as told by Nike Kicksfault on Instagram, is that Nike, on the heels of their success with the Air Jordan 1 shoe, anticipated that a lot of brands would now try to create knockoffs and steal away some of their sales. So they preemptively took their premium leather Air Jordan 1 and started thinking about how to make it cheaper and swapped in canvas as a cheaper textile, which is a really interesting decision in order to create a lower price point. So I think they went from like mid 60s to mid 30s as a price point for the original AJKOs. And those were released like soon after, and I think the first version of it was in 1985. And Nike's strategy may have been effective to stave off some of those would-be knockoff brands, but overall, this AJKO model really never got popular. It never garnered any real amount of attention. And so how do we think about AJKOs today? Perhaps when you think about the AJKO today, you might think, yeah, it's really not a popular series. Why would we want cheaper materials? Nowadays, we want our sneakers to be elevated and much more premium and luxurious. But Union LA, as a premier collaborator with Jordan, really took interest in this particular model, and they sort of did a first. This silhouette right here is a first for Jordan, as they have never really officially released a low-cut version of the AJKO. And spoiler alert, I really do think that this is a much better cut and a much better silhouette for the AJKO specifically, and we'll get into reasons why. Now, it's interesting that Union LA wanted to do a collaboration on this shoe. Like I said, I've always seen Union LA pushing boundaries, experimenting, and wanting to create designs that are unique. And you know, in some ways you can see how they were like interested in doing an AJKO. They were thinking outside the box. They wanted to do something that other people might not really touch. However, this model is supposed to be a more affordable Jordan sneaker, right? That is what it was built for. That's how it's seen. And you know, you'll notice when we get into the canvas model that it's certainly using materials that don't really feel like they're going to be rugged and durable and long lasting. But these retailed for $150 each. And what's really interesting is that even though they are AJKOs, Union LA was intentional of raising the game on these sneakers. And the quality of materials really rises up to meet the price point, which I was a little bit worried about when I first got them. And what we have here ultimately is a really high quality sneaker that has elements of sort of that OG treatment that you would find on an Air Jordan 1 low, but it sort of does its own thing. And I think that uniqueness is actually a really wonderful thing. Now, the first thing I'll say about having both of these shoes in hand is that they are actually quite different from each other, and it all really comes down to the little details. They're subtle, but they really do make a difference in how you look at each shoe. First of all, I like to point out the front of the shoe on the toe box. The leather variant is this perforated, tumbled leather, which makes a lot of sense because leather is less breathable. But on the canvas variant, there is no perforation, and it's probably because it wouldn't look good. I don't think perforation works well on canvas, but I also think it doesn't really need it. It's a much more breathable fabric. Second difference is the uniformity of the upper materials. The canvas version is pretty much all canvas throughout the entire upper, and I really enjoy the particular weaving. It sort of has this like pebble weaving to it that I really like. The only part of the canvas version that isn't canvas material is actually the back of the heel panel with the AJKO Wings logo. And that looks like leather with, I think, like a coating over it because it's sort of shiny. On the leather variant, it uses a nice tumbled leather on the toe box, as I pointed out earlier, as well as the quarter panels on both the lateral and medial side. But the eyelet panel right here, the mud guard, And the back of the heel panel is in this short-haired suede. The feel of the suede is like very fine sandpaper. It's not necessarily rough, but it's not soft. And definitely it is very short. And so there is a little bit of friction when you're just gliding your hand across it. Now let's look at the tongue, and this was a really nice surprise. The tongue is one of the most crucial pieces to any sort of Jordan sneaker, especially a 1. And the bottom half of the tongue is nylon on both, which is my favorite tongue material of all time. But the top part of the tongue is this mid-length hairy suede, which I really like. It's much softer than the material used on the leather variant, on the leather panels on the upper. And you get this really nice softness in the top portion of the tongue. Both tongues feature a white tongue tag with gray lettering. Going back to the heel panel with the Wings logo, the one on the leather, which is made out of suede, is thinner, and it's so much easier to like sort of lift up so that you can access the back part of the swoosh. But on the canvas version, like I said, it's this leather with this coating on top, but it's much more stiff. And one of my concerns is cracking the Wings logo when I'm lifting this up. And so I'd be a lot more careful on the canvas version when I'm swapping out swooshes. And we'll talk about swooshes in a second. Moving to the midsoles, this is probably the part of the sneaker that I like the least. And it's because the midsole, if you can see it, is the back of the midsole is sort of tilted up, which is, I have no idea why they did that. That seems like a very odd choice to do, but it's a way to differentiate between an AJKO and a regular Air Jordan model. But what I like about the differences is that on the leather one, it's this age sail uniformly across, and you get that age sail on the outsole as well. But on the canvas version, the midsole is a brighter, less aged looking off-white, and the outsole is gray. You're gonna see this gray also on other parts of the sneaker. Like the sock liner. The sock liner is also very different. On the leather model, it looks to be a very light gray, almost white, almost like an off-white. And on the canvas, it is definitely like middle gray, which is a nice, pleasant gray. Both materials are the same, and both have really the unit number sort of tagged and printed in black on the medial side. So you'll see that, and that's an old school feature. I really like that. Now let's talk about the insole. The insoles are really nice. This is Jordan's best. It's nice and thick, and it's gonna be really comfortable. But the color is this beige, almost tan color on the leather one. And for the canvas one, it is this gray that matches the sock liner as well as the outsole. Lastly, the two shoes come with extra laces and extra swooshes, which is always a nice touch. The leather variant comes with this navy suede swoosh attached, but you also get green, which is almost like a forest green sort of swoosh if you want to interchange there. And then the canvas version comes attached with gray swooshes, but you also get like this university blue swoosh variant as well. All the swooshes are suede, and it's a nice feeling material. And it's a bonus if you get both versions, because then you get 4 different colors to mix and match according to your fit or however you're feeling. The last little detail that I'd love to talk about is you get signature Union LA gold stitching on the lateral eyelet portion right here. I've already mentioned the gold stitching on the tongue, but then you also get the Union LA gold tag right there. And if you look underneath the swoosh, you get Union LA branding pattern underneath, which is a really, really nice hidden touch right there. So in the end, Union LA has definitely created another dope collaboration, a memorable one, a historical one. This is a new variation of the AJKO. And even though these might not be as valuable or as hyped as some of their past releases, I have a lot of respect for their willingness to work on a brand new idea, on a really untouched silhouette in the collaboration world, and try something that's a little bit restrained and continue to create a catalog of unique designs. What are your thoughts on either of these sneakers? What's your favorite switch combination or color? And what are you hoping next from Union LA? Let me guess. It's the Air Jordan 1. Anyways, leave a comment below, like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you again soon. Peace.